Welcome to beautifully sunny Italy, and welcome to the stunning Palazzo Fiuggi outside of Rome for my first drive in a future Shmeemobile, the Ferrari Roma Spider. Hi guys, I'm Shmee, hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me on a stunning afternoon to go and experience a future addition to my collection. Today I want to talk all about this car, plus dive a little bit more into the questions of why. How does this fit into the collection? What is it going to be used for? Why have I decided to buy one of Ferrari's open-top convertible GT sports cars? Let's get into this then. My first drive in the new Roma Spider. We're in the grounds of the hotel where it's currently Esperienza Ferrari, an opportunity for customers of these to come out and drive it for the first time. Now this is a bit of a crossover, making a video with a media vehicle during the customer event. I'm here with my dealership HRO and Ferrari in London, where of course I have ordered one of these and actually went to take a first look when the car was in the showroom. But there are plenty of different examples of cars and different specifications to take a look at, and this is really where they put on the workshops and customers are able to go through different configurations and get a feel for what their new cars are going to be about on the road. In terms of the other cars from Maranello that are currently in the Shmeemobiles, my Ferrari SF90 Stradale was the first new Ferrari I ever spec'd from new, and I've done an awful lot with over the last 2 years. Around 6 months ago, my Ferrari 296 GTS arrived into the collection, a car that's quite interesting in terms of how it sits alongside one of these in the garage in future, and we will dive into that in a moment. And then most recently I took delivery of the Ferrari Purosangue, which immediately embarked on some pretty big adventures all around Europe. However, there are more to come in the future. I have of course announced the arrival of one of these. I have also announced my first limited edition, limited series Ferrari, the SF90 XX Stradale, and I cannot wait for more updates with that. But there might be some more things I've not yet talked about in too much detail. However, today is all about the Roma Spider. A bit of a backstory of the Ferrari Roma. Named after the Italian capital, many of Ferrari's sports GTs have been given names of different places. Think California, think Portofino, think Roma. And when it comes to the Roma in its different forms, the coupe that launched first and the Spider that we have now, over time I've filmed a couple of them. I came out here to Rome for the initial introduction to see the car launched to the world. An interesting thing being the first new Ferrari model to ever be presented without Scuderia shields, and this particular example is also without. The idea of Dolce Vita, elegant lifestyle, that's why we're here for this particular event. However, it wasn't long until I was behind the wheel for the first time. Absolutely loved it, but couldn't figure at the time how it could fit into my garage. What could I do with the Roma? Would it get the mileage it deserves? I like to drive every single car. Well, fast forward a little bit longer and I actually went to spec one up at HRO and Ferrari London, the idea being it would be a car that would join the UK press fleet. In fact, they did take one of the colour schemes that I opted for. Then I got to drive it again on the German Autobahn, again felt that the Roma was a brilliant machine, but at the time, what could I do with it? Where would it sit in the garage? And then along came the Roma Spider. That's when I popped out to the dealership, to HRO and Ferrari in Hatfield, the sister showroom to where I've ordered my cars, and got to get a feel for what the car would offer. Of course, not driving it, but at least taking a look around, understanding the roof mechanism, and I want to show you a little bit more about the technical side of it, and then we're going to head on out because I can see the cars arriving back just now, in fact, and I want to see what this is actually like, roof down here in the Italian countryside. Before it is time to drive and talk a bit more about why I have bought one of these, let's take a quick 1 or 2 minute introductory walk around to explain the car if you're not already familiar with it, although do also check out my full first look from when I initially saw the Roma Spider to go through all of the stats, facts and figures and a more thorough overview of the convertible version of the Ferrari Roma. Now, 4 or 5 years ago, the Roma was launched initially as a coupe. The idea was to appeal to a new segment of the market, entice a new kind of buyer to Ferrari, a more dailyable sports GT, mixing this very elegant design with a car that happens to also feature a front mid V8 engine driving the rear wheels through an 8-speed dual clutch transmission, but at the time sitting in the lineup alongside the Portofino. Subsequently, there was also the Portofino M, but at the end of the Portofino's production run, it was a bit of a no-brainer, almost certainly planned from the outset to do away with the coupe's fixed roof and introduce a convertible. Now, like the coupe, it is officially actually a 2+. It's not strictly a two-seater, there are seats in the back, but there's also not a whole lot of space there. It's not really a 2+2, it's more for having your extra luggage, or perhaps just having a bit more space in the cabin. What I've always loved about the Roma though, is that it's a very, very elegant design, really encapsulating La Dolce Vita, as Ferrari say. This classical 60s style design, very smooth bodywork, no unnecessary aerodynamics or lines, keeping that all hidden away, but Flavio Manzoni and the team at Centro Stile, Ferrari's design department, really mixing that with also introducing a new style in terms of these horizontal lines through the headlights, this completely new grille, which was heavily discussed at the time. I've always liked the way it undercuts and tucks in with this very, very low nose. And I should also point out, as we go around, we are currently on winter tyres, despite the fact it's quite sunny, and I'm very happy to drive today with the roof down. Of course, the biggest changes are back here on the deck lid in terms of the design. The folding soft top tucks away underneath this. We still have the active spoiler back here. There's no button to pop that up just for show. It's all connected to your driving modes and your settings. But continuing this horizontal line again around the back, slicing through the tail lamps, you've got the quad exhaust tailpipes matching the quad tail lamps up above. Inside, you've got this wraparound feel to the cabin, a design I have also really quite liked. We've got the digital screen for the driver's dashboard. We've got this tablet-style infotainment in the very centre. And I'm also going to come and pop open the bonnet to come and show you the engine that we have here. The 3.9 litre twin turbocharged V8, making 620 horsepower, 760 newton meters, and looking fabulous in the process. Ferrari engines always look phenomenal. I think, however, I should probably close this up, step inside, get this started, and go take it for a drive. As I swing in here then, this is the key. Like other Ferrari models, this square with the name of the car, very helpful, believe me, when you have a couple in your fleet. That tucks away just inside there, nice little designated space for it. Your start button is here on the steering wheel. Let me just pull the door closed. Obviously, roof down at the moment, which is rather fabulous. The Manatino with the different driving modes. So in sport mode, let's press the foot on the brake, start it up. It sounds good. I've just had the alarm going off because I leaned in a moment ago. This is your control pad for the dual clutch transmission. You've got the passenger display, but we'll take more of a look and talk about some spec options when we return shortly. For the time being, the road awaits. Let's take this and go see what it's all about. Let's go. It is a beautiful time of day to drive. We're going to have sunset shortly, roof down, in the new convertible Ferrari. How cool is that? But we're here, and one thing I want to point out is that new cars Europe-wide have to have these systems where it beeps at you when you reach the speed limit. So on a road like this, where it is 10 or 20 kilometers an hour, if you go over that, it's going to beep at you multiple times. Thankfully in here, you can turn it off, because that is immeasurably annoying. Now, we have the roof down, we've got the windows up. You can actually, behind me, check this out, deploy the automatic wind deflector, which folds out behind. And even at this speed, I can instantly feel a difference in airflow from that. The windshield line up above feels very close to your face. It's actually a little bit taller than the coupe to help reduce the wind buffeting, but it is certainly right there. I've got some warm air blowing though. It's very, very pleasant in here. And I am going to make my way out onto the quiet, calm Italian streets, driving in this rumbly V8 machine. So let's head this way. We're going up towards the hills, and of course, I've got a lot to talk about. At slow speed, and we're in comfort mode right now, so you have the softest suspension by default. If you turn it up on the Manatino, you can then press bumpy road to soften it. But this is all very familiar to me because all of my Ferraris, which is a bonkers thing to say, I know, have the same controls, the same dashboard interface, the latest steering wheel and the Pura Sangue that you also have here. But initially, this is super smooth. The idea behind the car was that it would become this very dailyable Ferrari. Some people have often said that it's perhaps a little bit too soft, but I like that Ferrari do this, that they make these road cars for the road. If you want to race a Ferrari, there are F1 cars, XX cars, GT3s, GTEs, challenge cars. There's a whole lineup of different race cars that you can drive. So let's get out of town and go and start getting a feel for what this is all about. I'm on a particularly lovely bit of road, but what I will say is that when you're driving in comfort mode, the gearbox needs a really aggressive press on the throttle pedal to shift down any gears. So we don't want that. We're going to turn it up into sport. We will probably go with bumpy road though, because this is pretty bumpy out here. I am going to pop it into manual just to get it to hold the gears, and you start to get this deep V8 sound. Just a couple of minutes on what this is actually like to drive at the moment as we meander up here. Obviously we are in Italy, driving on the right side of the road, left-hand drive, chasing towards the sun. It sounds good as that bounces off the terrain around us. And the little pops on the shift as well. What I like is what I just said, that Ferrari engineer road cars to be good road cars, and I think a lot of manufacturers kind of lose the plot with that sometimes and try and make them too hardcore, too dynamic, too focused, and it takes away from a car that's genuinely good to drive. Yes, it's very soft. Oh, that was good. That shift is lightning fast. And the sounds that you get in this now, that of course, when you had a fixed roof, you could get a bit with the windows down, but you get a whole lot more. Oh, the shift from second to third is intoxicating. That sounds brilliant. As you can see though, there is quite a bit of traffic around here, so probably best to head a little bit further up and see what we can find. After a brief pause, what I will also do is pop the car into race. Now in race, you can still go into bumpy road, which, to be honest, on a road like this, which really tests the suspension of a car, especially the way it snakes backwards and forwards, is appreciated for the ride over the bumps, but then you might want it to be slightly less wallowy. The good thing is, at the press of a button, you can choose which setup you would like, because this is a proper pass with some tight, twisty corners, which normally, in a bigger, more powerful car, and let's be real, this is 600 plus horsepower, it's a proper, powerful sports car, you might want something a little bit more like a hot hatch, but it just drives really nicely. And this is what I always said about the Roma, and this is part of why I wanted the opportunity to own one of these. That was interesting with the bus on this tight, twisty road, just to be able to spend more time with it, because it's easy to think this is Ferrari's entry-level car and therefore it can't be great, right? Because with so many brands, the entry car is a little bit weaker. It's a lower price point. But this thing is absolutely spot on. It does a magical job of handling a road like this. It's almost too good. It shouldn't be this good. It sets the bar too high for everything that has to be above it in the portfolio. Yes, this is awesome. Absolutely awesome. There is something in here that is beyond my expectation, and that's how calm it stays in the cabin at any kind of sensible speed. Now, I say that because my experience of driving in the 812 GTS each time is that the bigger brother of this car, with its V12, which don't get me wrong, is amazing, is always quite blustery. You always feel inside when you get to higher speeds that it's not the most pleasant in the cabin, so I didn't really have the highest of hopes for how this was going to be, but at the speeds you'll drive on a road like this, it's really calm. It's almost perfect. And of course also in here we have the hot air blowing from behind. I'm not normally the biggest fan of that. I don't actually have it turned on right at this second, but it's nice to have that as an option that's available, because often in high-end cars they sometimes forget the functionality that other manufacturers are including, and then, let's be real, it's ballistically fast. I mean, you don't need this power, there's no question about that, but it handles a road like this so nicely. It's smooth, it's calm, it's soft, it's nice, it just cruises and wafts along so well. And the shift noise is just addictive. Carbon ceramic brakes are standard, very, very nice, confident stopping power, and just a turn that means you keep your hands on the wheel, even through some of this tight technical stuff. Paddles mounted fixed to the column. At the end of the day, you're not really shifting when you're in a corner, and I like that kind of drive. It's this mix of GT and Grand Touring style comfort with sporty dynamics at the other end, and in race mode like this it just pops between the gears so nicely. It's confident, it's composed. I know that some people, whoa, I almost didn't notice that there were some cows here. We're surrounded by cows who are staring at me. Well, the good news is that they are very calm and peaceful. I'm glad they didn't jump out into the middle of the road at me. You never know what you're going to find. You never know. Bit of a surprise. But that's why I'm not absolutely hooning it down this road, because I don't know exactly where I am. I can see a few more up ahead. Oh, this is such a cool place to be in this car. So I can rave as long as I like about how much I enjoy driving it, but I know there'll always be that perception of it being the kind of entry Ferrari. So let me find somewhere to pull over and tell you a little bit more about why I've decided to buy one. Due to a bit of a glitch in the system, you now join me on the next morning to talk about why I'm buying a Roma Spider. But very quickly, check out this view. How spectacular is this? We're actually up at the top of the hill beside Castello Fumone, the castle right up there with the car. It's just stunning right now, but I want to break down why a Roma Spider into a couple of different points which will kind of tie and connect together. The first of those is that, as you know from the channel, I love cars, I love driving, I love different experiences, plus being able to make all of the videos with the car, the videos of those different experiences, being able to spec the car, collect it, take it on its first road trip, go and do different things. And I've always had, ever since the Roma was introduced, a soft spot for it. The original coupe wasn't really a car that I could fit into the collection. The Spider is something new. The Spider is something that is different to anything else in my garage, and my first super sports car, if we could say, sports car probably more accurately, was the Vantage Roadster. This kind of style of platform, it is what I genuinely enjoy driving, a car for myself to go and take out. The second thing I'd like to say is that it's great to have a very cool car in the collection that I can be slightly less protective over. Now, what I mean by that, because of course it is still a Ferrari and still incredibly valuable, is having a car that I can lend to my dad for a month or two, a car that I can lend to a friend who comes to visit for the week, a car that I'm not going to be panicking about in the same way as the likes of the SF90, the 296 GTS, and some of the other supercars. That might sound a bit strange, but for example, in terms of the spec, I'm not going to order the carbon exterior, because those are things that can just easily, a small little tap, get damaged, cost a big amount of money, and it makes sense to have the car that's just a little bit more usable overall. The third, perhaps a bit of an elephant in the room, but I think very important to discuss, is the whole portfolio with Ferrari. The chicken and egg, do you buy this car to get the limited edition, or do you buy this car because you like it and then you get the bonus of getting a limited edition of a different model that comes later? And this is something that's often misunderstood. I explained it a little bit recently, but it's the same whether it's a Ferrari and luxury cars, a Rolex with luxury watches, Hermes with luxury handbags. By being involved in the brand, going to the brand's events, owning the different cars from the brand, being very close to everything that they're working on, of course, they're going to reward you at the end of the day with the special cars. What's perhaps misunderstood here is that the entry Ferrari is still a Ferrari. It's a fabulous car. There's this cliche image that because it's the entry car, like a Boxster or a Cayman back in the day for Porsche as well, it therefore can't be great, which is totally misunderstood. This is a brilliant thing to own, and obviously if it happens to support my portfolio along the way and means that I'm going to be more able to purchase cars as well, like the XX that will be added to the collection, then it's a bit of a no-brainer. Obviously, it becomes a very smart thing all around when you look at the big picture. I get to own it, drive it, lend it to friends, go out and take different video content with it, and it supports the process along the way. Now, the fourth is what I alluded to earlier. In terms of the Ferrari collection, what I have in the garage, I don't have a V8 Ferrari convertible like this. Yes, I have the SF90 Stradale, which is very much hybrid mid-engine supercar, and yes, I'll have the XX Stradale, which is ultimate in track car. It's a completely different thing to this. This is a Ferrari V8 with the engine up front, with the roof down, perfect for grand touring, lovely to drive on these kinds of roads. So it's something different to my other Ferrari experiences. It's something different to anything else in my garage. And like I said, my first proper grown-up car was the V8 Vantage Roadster. This is almost the modern era equivalent of that, obviously having stepped it on and become so much what that is, but now with 620 horsepower, this thing dials up the game massively. So I had considered purchasing the new AMG GT. I spoke about that a little bit on the channel as well, but when you actually sit down and think about it and compare these two cars, the cost of the AMG GT which you know is invariably going to depreciate very heavily, and I might still buy one, we'll talk about it a little bit later, versus this, which yes has a much higher entry point, but includes Ferrari's 7 years of servicing, an extended warranty, and Ferrari residuals, which tend to be very strong, puts it in a great position. As an ownership prospect and proposition, this ticks a whole lot of boxes at a very sensible price point. Put all of that together, along with simply the passion and just wanting to add it to the garage, and you end with something that is a complete and total, I'm going to say no-brainer again, because it's like, it just makes sense. It just makes sense and ticks all of those boxes. And I love what the Ferrari brand are doing at the moment. I enjoy so much coming out here to Italy, driving them, having been able to drive a number of these over the years. So I just wanted to pull the trigger, make it happen, and like I say, be able to use it. And I'm sure there will be the cliched, oh, you'll never drive it, it'll be gone in 6 months. I bet you're wrong, as always, on the channel with the garage. The Emira is a perfect case in point. I've had it for a year and 3 months, drive it pretty much every day as my basic daily car. So this will be around, not forever, I'm not gonna lie, it's not a car I'm gonna keep in for 10 years. I don't know whether it's 2 years or 5 years. We'll have to see as things evolve, as they go, what comes next, because the Roma itself has been around for a while and the Spider's come late in the production run. So who knows how long its production period is going to be. But that's a bit of a summary as to why. For now, we had better get back on the road, although I do want to show you what this paint, Celeste, looked like with the sunset on it yesterday. As the sun struck off this metallic blue, it looked amazing. Absolutely amazing. Right, let's hop back in, get out there and go drive. The temperature has dropped so quickly. Press and hold. The hills are alive with Roma V8. Now, obviously, if it was old school, you couldn't do the roof and start driving, but we can. We can start moving, and then I can pull the button or press the button. I always get it the opposite way round. First go, press that down. You can do this up to 60 kilometers an hour, which is a bit faster than normal, about 40 miles per hour. Takes 13.5 seconds to put the fabric roof in place, and then, as if by magic, it is all lovely. And I've got to say, that turning radius there was really quite impressive. So back down the hill we go. Oh, that is nice. Warm, calm, and car completely transformed. I think the idea here, and a lot of people are almost negative towards soft tops because in recent years hard tops obviously arrived and changed the game, but soft top convertibles have now become so good that it's done away with the need for the extra weight which comes from having the retractable hardtop. Of course, it varies depending on the form of the car. The smaller two-seat cars, which are more like a Targa top panel that tucks away, makes sense. Even the 812 GTS. But in this, because of the 2 Plus, I was about to say 2 Plus 2 Plus configuration, obviously it's a much larger roof. So if that was a hardtop, it would be significantly top heavy, which at the end of the day is not the Ferrari ethos. This is spectacular right now. So we're going to make our way down this hill, slow and steady does it, back towards the main roads to the hotel. Just back in comfort mode. It's a really premium high-end car, and that's the other thing, it's still a Ferrari. So all of the details and trims and things inside are Ferrari. It's not like buying a car that's a bigger group where a lot of the stuff inside is plasticky or just not so pleasant. In here, it's really, really, really good. And you feel like you've got good visibility all around you. You're nicely positioned on the road, easy to drive, very welcoming. And like I say, just feels good. So let's get down out of the town and back on the main roads while the sun is setting off in the distance. Back enjoying the road, but one thing that I have to talk about, because it's immensely irritating, is this new system. And it's not Ferrari's fault, it's in every car. The first time I experienced it was in a BMW. As soon as you start the car again, everything turns back on, and it has to. Which means, and you have to think about this, speedometers have to legally overread, or rather they can't underread. So they tend to have a margin, whether it's 5% or 10% that they overread. So picture the scene. You want to drive 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour on an 80 kilometer an hour or 50 mile an hour road, and you go to exactly that speed, which means your speedometer is showing 83 or 52, which as a result means the car is going to go ping, 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 and drive you nuts every single time that you get in it. And I am a person of belief right now that this is going to have a big impact, and this is going to mean that a lot of people don't want new cars. A lot of petrol heads are going to be very put off by cars that do that. Don't get me wrong, you can turn it off, but it's really annoying. And it's not that I'm sitting here saying, yeah, let's all speed around like mad people, but if your car doesn't realize you've gone into a 50 and it still thinks you're in a 30, it's going to ping away at you. And they do it, and I've had that already on this journey, where it's been wrong and obviously starts chiming, and it's really frustrating. It's just something that's going to, I get it from the safety perspective, but I don't get it from the enjoyment of driving perspective. Now, let's assume that people are going to work out how to code that out. It's going to be possible in many cars to get rid of it. But from my perspective, if my SF90XX does that, I'm not going to be a happy bunny, because I can even picture that you go to a racetrack and the car doesn't even know that you're at a racetrack and the speed limit is unlimited, and it's just going to be beeping away at you and making annoying noises constantly. And that's just not what anybody wants from a sports car. Like, even to go at what is really the speed limit by GPS, or on a road where the car has it wrong. I don't know how that's going to evolve, but I think it's a big topic that hasn't really been discussed enough, actually. Like, amongst petrol heads, amongst people creating videos and other content. Oh well, for the time being, it is off, and this bit of tarmac is beautifully smooth, meandering down the hill. In fact, my ears are even popping. Drop it down to second. The pops are great in here. Absolutely great. What a way to end the day. It's definitely very, very soft, and I'm not even in bumpy road right now. I'm in race mode, but I still enjoy it. I still think it works, certainly in the way that I like to drive, really well. Characterful mid-range, which is very important. Steering is really, really nice, which is very important. I like a car that really feels connected in terms of the drive, which obviously in the earlier days of the electric steering was something that a lot of people struggled with. And I like a car that just has a characterful soundtrack that just makes you feel good when you're driving it, that you enjoy being at the wheel of. And what more can I say about this? This is really, really right on the money. And I can tell you, a decently spec'd car, it's about £250,000. And for £250,000 of really high-end sports GT, nothing's better. Nothing is better. Now that we're back, of course, we do need to open this up, and it's a pretty simple process, as you'd probably expect. Pull the lever, opens up the rear deck. It's going to fold that away. Like I said, 13.5 seconds. So it happens pretty quickly. And then afterwards, you can either let go or let it put the windows up as well. Nice, smooth, simple sailing, just like that. And it does obviously the rear quarter window as well. I've been really impressed with how well that's worked, to be completely honest, for driving. I think that whole process and the lack of blusteriness inside is a big deal. It's very, very well done. You can do this with just the ignition. You don't need the engine running. So I will stop that in just a second as well. But that is super, super easy. I like it. The only thing that's slightly inconvenient is that the piece behind the panel, you have to lean over awkwardly and kind of slam it shut. So that's a little bit of hassle, but comfort access, steering wheel moves itself up, easy to step in and out, lots of room here, and yeah, successful drive. Lovely thing. And like I said, the texture that you have on here matches what's underneath that you actually see through the rear window. It's amazing how, given how little window you think there is, you actually can see fine with the roof panel up in place. Works well, works very well. Another topic of discussion, I mentioned using the car for a road trip. Of course, there is a decent amount of space. You've got 255 litres. This is the panel, obviously, when the roof is folded away. It sits on top of that, so you can still access the space underneath, but it's not the easiest. That, if you don't have the roof, you can pop it away. Pop it up inside there and fit a couple of trolley bags in, and there's even a raised shelf further in and some storage underneath with your stuff inside it as well. Obviously, 9 times out of 10, you're going to just leave that down, but that's where the back seats come in. That's where the fact that you've got those rear seats, I'm going to use that term, This has soft close, by the way. Pulls itself down, which is really nice. The fact that you've got that seat area means that you can throw soft bags in there, which at the end of the day makes it incredibly usable. Bit like a turbo 911 or something like that. You've got the extra space. To me, this is a proper Ferrari. This is a seriously cool car. I'm standing surrounded by a little army of them right now, and it's a very exciting one. Like, it's just going to be a cool car to drive, use, own and enjoy. And like I said, the other benefits that come with it are just the icing on the cake, just really combine to make this an epic thing. Now, when it comes to specifications, I might be a bit cliche about this. The car that I'm currently working on, I have to say at this point in time, I've not signed the final spec order, is going to be blue. It's not going to be this blue, but it is going to be blue. I like my blue Ferraris. Listen, the Puro Sangue is blue, the SF90 is blue, but the XX is not going to be blue. The 296 GTS is red/orange. This is going to be blue. The XX, like I said, isn't, and the other car that I haven't really told you much about isn't either. So don't worry, we're not going full blue. I just like blue Ferraris. I think they work incredibly well. Not being the biggest red Ferrari guys, though I do love the 296 GTS and Rosso Dino. There are some amazing colours. When you go to the Atelier and TaylorMade, there are like 800 different colours that you can choose from, many of which are here. And I mean, just take a moment to look at this venue. This is incredible. Palazzo Fiuggi, where this is being hosted, the Esperienza Ferrari, with a lot going on, with everyone else already inside and enjoying. So it is a big thanks to the team at Ferrari for making it possible, of course, due to making videos, had to have a slightly different program, which they very kindly arranged and made happen, which is wonderful to be able to take this out, go drive it, and be able to share a first drive. So conclusion, really excited. It's a great car to drive. Can't wait for the fun I'm going to have with it ahead, and very, very happy that I've come out to drive it today. So I think that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you can see why this is coming to the Shmeemobiles. That's it for now, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.